What's the dumbest thing someone has ever said to you?
That the Golden Gate Bridge connects North America and Europe. Yeah, don't even ask.
Then that's one long-ass bridge.
Had a guy the first was working construction with say, I hope the sun comes up on that side today, pointing west because yesterday it came up on this side and it was so hot, with us being on the east side of the building. Yeah bud, that's not how the sun works lol. IDK if an egg is a fruit or a vegetable.
Fair question if you think it comes from an eggplant. Some guy on a Discord server insisted Pakistan is in Africa. I told him that Pakistan is in Asia and he called me racist and had a little rant.
Had a similar talk with a jagoff in my high school chem class. He tried to convince me India was part of the Middle East. He didn't even shut up about it when I told him I'm Indian and I know exactly where the hell I'm from, just kept on truckin'.
Isn't it amazing how dogs just come out knowing commands like sit and lay down? The man was stone cold serious asterisk.
I was told that if I did some breathing exercises for 6 months and then checked my blood sugar, my T1 diabetes would just disappear.
Used to work in Yellowstone. The amount of stupid coming through the park is unimaginable. Had a bison come and lay down close to the boardwalk at Old Faithful. A woman holding a toddler started running up to it. Luckily I had grabbed her by the back of her shirt and pulled her down. She kept screaming she was going to sue me in the lodge for ruining her perfect vacation photo. Then watching a 20-something walking out of the lodge in a swimming suit to go soak in the pots. Telling another tourist that he could not walk off the boardwalk. He became angry and demanded to be allowed to do this. When this happens we are on higher alert. We always had to watch tourists, like they had IQs of 10.
By soak in the pots, you mean commit horrific suicide by jumping into boiling volcanic springs, I'm guessing?
A supervisor told me, you can only get sick if you want to be sick.
Remember, by law, no bacteria or virus can enter your body without your consent. If you were in the fear of getting infected, just say no. Was talking to the cashier at a 24-hour Tesco's at about 1 in the morning and he said, I don't mind working nights because I'm a necrophile. Me, do you mean nocturnal?
Did he effing stutter? Gotta have a cover story when cops start asking questions.
A friend of mine asked me why we didn't see stars when we flew over them. She truly believed that when you were flying on an airplane, you flew over the stars. I was speechless.
I met a girl in college that thought that after airplanes reach peak altitude, they then turn off the airplane and glide in the rest of the way. Yes, she had flown before.
Was it difficult for your husband to learn English? Is there a language barrier for you guys? My husband is Scottish, born and raised. ETA, wow, this really blew up. So I'm going to add some additional info, especially for those saying this is totally valid. The people asking me this question were supposed to be well-educated teachers. They had never met my husband, so they didn't even have the excuse of hearing his accent. But had they met him they would have been more surprised at how diluted his accent was due to having left Scotland at 18 to live in London for 7 years, and by the time I met him he had been in the States for 14 years. He had an accent but was very easy to understand and had adopted a more American style of speaking so people could understand him, so he said things like pants instead of trousers.
As a guy who dated a fully Irish girl, I can definitely understand the language barrier question when she got pissed. She doesn't speak Gaelic, but that was not English either.
The thing is, this didn't come as like an intelligent question. They had no idea Gaelic was a thing. They just figured since he is from a foreign country surely English isn't his first language. Once I was even asked by someone from the same group of people if they spoke American in Scotland.
I'm from New Mexico and was once told that my English is excellent. Have also been asked for my green card once.
I live in New Mexico currently. One time my mom was on the phone with some lady, and they argued with her about whether or not New Mexico is in the US. Then she proceeded to argue with my mom about how to spell Albuquerque. Like, okay, my mom lived in Albuquerque during that time, she should know more than anyone.
Do you want to know the people who really have it rough? The people who originally come from truth or consequences, T or C.
A work colleague once asked whether any of those ancient prophecies about the end of the world actually came true.
Last month a coworker asked if I'll run out of blood eventually because donate very couple months. He's 34 years old.
That's the idea.
A guy asked me if Hitler was before or after Second World War. We are both native Germans.
An American girl told me once that Hitler would have killed me during WW2 because I'm blonde and I got blue eyes. I'm German BTW. I thought windmills cool down the earth to stop global warming.
Me, the IT person, walking past a user in the office that was at her desk. Her computer was slow that day. No one ever realized that having opened 12 programs at once and 15 tabs in Internet Explorer would slow down the junky PCs we had. I said it over and over, but what would the IT guy know about computer performance? She yells out, "My computer is connected with a blue network cable and the rest of yours are all yellow. Mine must connect somewhere else and that's the reason why it runs so slow."
Oh, poo, she found out about the yellow network.
Former boss told me his girlfriend, at the time, who lived in the US, couldn't FaceTime him because they don't have that over there yet.
We standardize on a case-by-case basis.
An auto shop up the road had a sign saying, "We specialize in all domestic and foreign makes." Quote. From a family member, years ago, "My husband and I are having problems, so we're trying for another baby. That should make things better." Quote. I smiled inanely and walked away, stunned.
Feces is stored in the liver. No joke.
Pee is stored in the balls. No joke.
I don't mean to stereotype, but you look too white to speak Spanish, after I told my college suite mate that I was taking Spanish courses. Coming from a girl that always denounces stereotyping.
Ironic considering Spanish people are white.
I had a classmate in high school bio once say she wanted to move to Australia. When asked why, she replied, "I want to look out my window and see giraffes in my yard." No amount of convincing or documentation would convince her that giraffes were in Africa and not Australia. Similar vein, but less stupid because he admitted he was wrong, my high school physics teacher thought I made up narwhals. In his defense, I absolutely had a penchant for drawing weird, made-up creatures whenever the moment presented itself. We had to do a sock puppet show to explain something I don't remember, and I chose to make narwhals for my puppets because it was 2010 and I thought it was the funniest poo. He asked me if the creatures in my presentation were creatures I made up, or if they were from mythology. I'll never forget the projector pulled up to the Wikipedia page on narwhals, and my teacher scrolling through it going, "This is crazy. I thought you made him up."
I am still angry about a teacher I had when I was 5 years old, who challenged my class to name an animal for every letter of the alphabet. This was my thing. I loved animals. I collected information cards and models and I was very precise about it. I had a WWF jigsaw puzzle, that's World Wildlife Fund not wrestling, and it had narwhals on it. They wouldn't lie, so I knew asterisk. She got to N. I confidently said, "Narwhal," and she told me off for suggesting a mythical animal. She didn't even want to hear about my jigsaw puzzle. The sense of injustice has never gone away.
Do they have a Bible in Spain? Said during the third year of a Spanish class by a girl taking religious studies as well. What? Maryland doesn't have any hospitals. My old friend, hands down the stupidest man I've ever met. Heart of gold, though, once called me while he was in Maryland, were from Ohio, and asked me to call 911 for him because he was having a panic attack and was genuinely worried that he was going to have a heart attack. I proceeded to explain that instead of calling me he should call 911 himself or go to the hospital. He then started arguing with me that Maryland doesn't have hospitals. He legit thought hospitals only existed in Ohio. It took like 5 minutes to get him to understand that hospitals are literally everywhere. Still absolutely dumbfounded by that conversation 5 years later.
So he thought that an ambulance had to drive from Ohio to Maryland to get him and take him all the way back to Ohio? Did he just assume people living in states really far away had to be airlifted to a hospital in Ohio or something? What on earth do people in Hawaii do? Cold sweat smile.
Babies who are born through C-section get autism.
In the before times, my employer was offering free flu shots to everyone and sent out an email with a sign-up sheet. My coworker, a 35-year-old adult person, loudly proclaimed that the flu shot gives adults autism. Face with rolling eyes. She also couldn't calculate 10% correctly, so IDK.
My grandma's friend and her daughter said they could hear the International Space Station fly overhead. It sound like, whoosh, lol.
Someone told me I'm a Scientologist because I believe in science.
That's going to be hard to beat.
I'm never going to quit smoking cigarettes. My aunt was healthy until she quit. Then she was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. This was said to me by my manager at a Domino's Pizza, Pennsylvania, USA. I didn't have the time or energy to explain to a man 3 decades my senior that she probably had cancer for a long time, but didn't go to the doctor until she was feeling withdrawal from the nicotine. So we finished our cigs and went back to slinging pizzas. I quit smoking and delivering pizza not long after.
Wait, you're Asian? I thought you said you were Vietnamese.
Are you Chinese or Asian?
That we don't need farmers because we have grocery stores. I live in a rural area.
A variation I heard on that once. I don't understand why we have to kill so many cows. McDonald's seems to have plenty of meat. Was said seriously.
My old roommate pointed in laser thermometer at a pencil on a table, inside our house. The laser thermometer read, 68F. He exclaimed, "This thing is broken." I asked why he thought it was broken. "This is a pencil. It doesn't produce any heat. This thermometer should say 0 inches. I stared at him for a few seconds, unable to collect my jaw off the floor. Well, 0F would mean it is frozen, or well beyond frozen, so I think 68 is the temperature of the air in the room. This man was 26, his 2 adult brothers were sitting in this room. I was the only one who understood why the thermometer was correct.
I had to reread that again, but holy poo.
I had an acquaintance claim that the Earth must be flat because nobody's talking about the white landmass around the map and how it's a cover-up. He was pointing at the white rectangular border of the paper.
While I was in college for an earth science degree, I served at a restaurant. The owner of the restaurant asked me if I knew what the moon was made of or how it was made. So I gave him a concise and correct response. He looks at me and goes, "Oh, that's what you think. Let me tell you what no one in the government will say," then proceeds to tell me how everything I'm learning is a lie perpetrated by corporate interests and that the moon was made by a group of scientists 3 billion years in the future, who travel 6 billion years back in time and create the moon. He was dead serious. This dude was not joking. This was also in 2013, long before the Q-nuts, which I absolutely guarantee he is one.
I'm studying physics at uni. Oh cool, like especially, mind over matter stuff? He seemed disappointed when I said no.
In my university there were 3 philosophy tracks to major in: philosophy, philosophy and psychology, and ethics, social and political philosophy. The last one was known as ESP philosophy. I suspect he would have been even more disappointed. Edit. I fixed the punctuation, though I am enjoying the comments about it. Thank you, all.
I'm a skydiver. I once had a woman ask me if the plane stops for us to get out. Yeah. It parallel parks next to the 747, woman facepalming medium light skin tone.
Someone once said that they couldn't wait for Halloween to fall on Friday the 13th.
It's going to be extra spooky that year.
Co-worker overheard another co-worker and I discussing how awful it would be for bees to become extinct, and interjected with a "who cares?" When I started to explain what that mean for crops and plants, he cut me off to vow that he would be perfectly fine eating only meat. When I asked him what would happen to livestock when there aren't enough plants to feed them, I swear I could see through his eyes into the back of his skull. Side note, the same gentleman once asked if I appreciated art and then took me aside to show me a tattoo on his calf of a blue humanoid female in Star Trek TOS uniform lifting the back of her skirt to reveal that she was not wearing her standard issue space panties. Edit. What if bees dead yo? Link for everyone thinking I'm being unreasonable. It's been a few years since biology, chemistry, sustainable development etc., but I will endeavor to find an even better source. But until my needy children and pets leave me alone, I hope this will provide some food for thought. Edit again. Don't get too caught up on just feeding grass-eating livestock. The overall drop in biodiversity resulting from worldwide decline in pollinator populations will mean significantly less produce choice and will negatively impact nutrition on a global scale.
Tigers are girl lions. Said by my 40-year-old ex-boyfriend who is a nuclear engineer.
I was at the mall when this girl approached me and tried to pressure sell me iPhone screen protectors. I told her that I already have one on, which I installed myself. She replied, "No, you don't."
I once had a guy from a stall slap my phone out of my hand and go, "See? Anything can happen at any time. You need a case or a screen protector, come," and tried to sell me one. If my brother hadn't calmed me down and pulled me back, I was ready to throw hands with this guy. Thankfully my phone didn't have a scratch, but that's a surefire way to have busted teeth and no sales.
My husband's mom is very ignorant and known to say really stupid things. Most recently we were in Italy and she asked why they don't just tear down the Colosseum because it looked so old. Edit to clarify. She wasn't physically there, just seeing it on social media. She doesn't believe in leaving the US because she thinks it is the best place, so she doesn't need to see any other places. Honestly, probably better she stays where she is at.
It could become a really nice parking lot.
Not me, but a friend of mine traveled to the US with her family when she was younger. Upon hearing her family's accent, an American asked, "Where are you guys from?" The answer was Australia, and that person confidently responded with, "Which state is that?"
When I was in the States, over 20 years ago, someone asked me, "Where are you from? Your accent is really nice." I told them I'm from England. They replied, "Oh, I've heard of England. Is that in London?" During the same trip, another person asked me the same question, so I gave the same answer, England. They refused to acknowledge that England was a country and they insisted that English was a language created by the USA. This same person then informed me that I lived in the UK, which was a region of the country Europe. In both instances I just smiled and walked away. Edit. Just wanted to add, this was a very small minority. The vast majority of Americans I met were well educated and knew a fair bit about England and the UK. And every single one was lovely and super friendly smiley face.
That genes go with gender. If the father has blue eyes, and the mother brown eyes, the kid will have blue eyes if male, and brown eyes if female. She said this is in all genes, not just eye color, and I know there is a bigger probability for some colors, but that was just an example.
My boss after I had to leave work to save my suicidal mother-in-law. When you leave like that, it's not fair to us because you just leave us hanging. Edit. Thank you all for sharing your experiences and kind words. My mill is okay and has recovered greatly. I promptly quit that job and have been living the freelance life.
Poo like this makes me sick. My husband's boss isn't perfect, but when my husband had to leave work suddenly to take me to my sister's, she sent a bunch of goodbye texts and turned off her phone. He said, "I've got to go. Sister-in-law might have killed herself," and boss cut him off and just said, "Go. Let us know if you'll be in tomorrow." And that was it. Because that's how a effing human would respond to that situation. Never mind the fact that my husband is pretty much the only person at his work that can do what he does, so the work was almost completely halted for the day.
When I was in 5th grade in Mississippi, a girl asked me if I saw everything flat because of the shape of my eyes. I am Asian.
That 100 pounds of metal weighs more than 100 pounds of feathers. I'm sure this has happened to a few people. Edit. I should have just used metric.
But steel is heavier than feathers.
When I was in Georgia, I was asked where I was from due to my thick accent. Once I shared with them that one's from Canada, I was then asked if we have snow all year round and if I live in an igloo. Ignorance is bliss.
Why don't you go back to where you came from? Racist guy at the grocery store checkout. I'm Native American, this is literally where I came from. Me.
After she asked me for suggestions for electives, and I suggested logic, well, you see, I'm more in tune with my emotional side, and I prefer to feel rather than to think, so I don't agree with a lot of logic.
Elementary school, we were learning about local Native American cultures and legends. One legend had all the men go off to war except one boy or something, and it was left to him to continue the tribe's existence, or something like that. Got in a debate with a girl who loudly asked why didn't he just go and die too, the women can keep the tribe alive. Me, being worldly and having had the talk already, tried to explain that there would be no more tribe without at least one guy present. She yelled back, "That's not true. We know how to fish." I had to be told to sit outside because I couldn't stop laughing.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.